It is a happy Thursday night football. It's the Prop Queen Ariel Epstein. It is the last show that I will be doing from Aruba. Thank goodness. I don't mean thank goodness because I am like, I don't know, I'm ready to come home. But Kelly and I are having a great time. And it's funny because both of us are actually working right now. So I kicked Kelly out onto the patio and she has to go outside with all the construction to do her show with John Murray. So shout out to Kelly for being a team player and letting me do the show in the inside of the quiet apartment that we have here in Aruba. Tom Vecchio going to join the show in about 9 minutes. We're going to give out some NHL props, some Thursday night football props. Then Coach James Young going to join the show at is everything okay? Coach James Young going to join the show at 5:45 p.m. Eastern time, so that we could talk some NBA and college basketball. I know I'm shocked that the chat hasn't been blowing up yet because usually the chat's a lot more active, but it is my fault. My mom's going to yell at me because I haven't been doing as many shows this week. I only did the Thursday and Monday show for football. I'm very out of the loop in the NBA. I did a little bit of NBA today, but I don't like to worry about the NBA until we get to the time I get back from Aruba because it's like we need a month of sample size for NBA props. So Thursday night football props we will get to in just a little bit. Thanks, Mark. I am ready to see my dog, though. That's for damn sure. And also, Kelly stole my charger because she was dumb enough to not charge her computer before her show. So hopefully my show ends up making it through the hour. Let's see. Thursday night football today, we've got a horrible game between the Jets and the Patriots. We've got the Patriots laying 12.5. It went from 10.5 to 12.5. Total 44.5 dropped to 43.5. So I've got props that I'll give out a little bit later in the show. But let's see. New England's won and covered 8 of the last 10 in this matchup. The Jets' 26th strength of schedule, not even top 25 in offensive or defensive efficiency for having such an easy schedule. So that's a big problem too. Let's see. I'm trying to see what's going on with the show because, okay, X, we're streaming. Instagram will not let me stream for some reason, and I'm not really sure why. I hate having any kind of tech issues. Sorry, guys. Not really sure why Instagram isn't working. Whatever. We're just going to have to live without Instagram today, I guess. It is not going live for us. Happy Thursday, everybody. I just let the newsletter out as well at thepropqueen.com. So if you would like to see any of the props given out for today because you missed any of it, then you can go to thepropqueen.com. And again, I have my props and my prize picks lineup at the end of the show. My prize picks lineup is going to pay out about, I think, $1,200 tonight. So if you want to put, I think it was $250 on a power play, 3-pick power play makes $1,300, which is very necessary because Kelly and I have lost a lot of freaking money this trip. Honestly, guys, so we've been playing the Buffalo machine. The Buffalo machine, we've been, like, we know how to play that machine well. Every day we're going to the casino to make sure, like, okay, let's go play it. On freaking pennies, we keep losing. Like, we'll hit big, and we're like, oh my God, and then it's like $30. You're like, oh, we win $300 on pennies. So I hate pennies. I'm out on penny slots. Blackjack, we'll see. Blackjack, I haven't played in like 3 days. I did really well last week in blackjack, and then all of a sudden got absolutely destroyed. Beyond destroyed, actually. Let's see what else we've got in the NFL tonight. So again, Tom Vecchio going to join the show in about 5 minutes. Sports betting. I know that the sports betting news that we could talk about is really about Emmanuel Clase having to plead guilty. The former closer pleading not guilty for the sports betting scandal that's gone on with the Cleveland Guardians. He had to fly from the Dominican Republic to JFK, and he got arrested by the FBI at JFK and then pleaded not guilty. So we'll see what goes on with the Guardians, Luis Ortiz and Emmanuel Clase and their gambling scandal. Mark said Tom did a great job hosting. You could tell him that in the next 5 minutes. I'm sure he'll be really grateful to hear that. I also was talking to a few friends of mine when talking about the NBA. Apparently it's plus 350 for the Oklahoma City Thunder to hit 70 wins. Yeah, well, they're 12-1 to start the season, so that's pretty crazy. I feel like it's been a kind of slow week, though. Jets placed wide receiver Garrett Wilson on the IR with a knee injury. Lamar, he ended up practicing today, which is no surprise. Everyone was making a big deal about Lamar Jackson and him not practicing. He never practices on Wednesdays, like ever. The only time he didn't even end up playing at the end of the week. So Lamar's fine. Lamar's playing. Go play blackjack before noon. You will rake. Sit at a $5 table. So here's the problem. Here on Hotel Row in Aruba, Uncle Ted, they don't open up the tables till like 4 o'clock. The only place that I could go is the Alhambra, which is on the other side of this part of the island, this side of the island. But it's a little bit of a far trip to make for when you are like in the day and you're just trying to enjoy the outside, which I don't know. Like I was going to post a poll today, but I didn't. I was going to post a poll today. Do Kelly and I have a right to complain about working in Aruba? Because Kelly and I had to work all day today. We went outside for lunch and that was about it. We actually said that it would have been so much better to be in the middle of a snowstorm than having to worry about being stuck in Aruba, where you would love to just be able to sit outside on vacation like everybody else outside your door. But instead, me and Kelly are sitting in this dark room doing all these shows instead of too much beach and sun to worry about gambling before 4 p.m. I agree. So tomorrow we are going to, you good? Okay. So tomorrow we are going to be having a great time on a boat and we don't need to worry about any of this. 100% on your side with this. Thanks, Jessica. I appreciate that. You would bet over 70 wins, Craig Abel? I finally got color. Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored. I'm actually very honored. Padres on sale. Saw that. It wasn't you guys. I had to do other shows. It wasn't just you guys. Don't worry. It wasn't your fault. You didn't ask me to do it. I just chose to do it myself. Again, I feel like it's been kind of a slow week. I know that we saw the Cy Youngs get posted. I know Paul Skeens wins Cy Young. Shout out to Paul Skeens. Tarek Skubal also wins Cy Young. Jalen Brunson just announced sustained a grade 1 right ankle sprain. He will miss Friday's game. NBA for you. Like, anyone surprised by this? I'm not surprised by this. But anyway, so shout out to Paul Skeens and all those rumors about him wanting to be a Yankee. I'm not getting my hopes up. We also have to find out about MVP, Aaron Judge, Cal Raleigh. That's the big story, I feel like, in my eyes right now. I feel like it's got to go to Judge, but the storyline of Cal Raleigh is great. I just feel like it's got to go to Judge. NBA. I'm telling you, when I get back, so like next week, I'm going to look more at NBA props because right now the NBA is just absolute. It's just all like too many injuries, not enough numbers and data yet. So we've got to wait for things to really get in full swing in the NBA, especially for props. Let's see. Kalshi said heavily to Judge. I'll be floored if it's Cal. I agree. It's got to be Judge. The numbers are there. Cal Raleigh, like you to win MVP, you should be a well-rounded player. And Cal Raleigh is a great catcher. So like that's the argument, is that he's a catcher. But Aaron Judge's numbers were just so much better overall as a hitter than Cal Raleigh. If Dumber played in Judge's Little League park, he would have hit 90. Cal played in a giant park, caught every day, and hit 60 bombs. MVP. I know the argument is about being the catcher, right? But numbers are MVP always goes to the guy with the numbers every time. It's not the intangibles. I didn't say 150 games as a catcher. I'm saying that the MVP always ends up going to the numbers, and the numbers indicate that Aaron Judge had the better numbers. Like when you look at statistics, like I was asking some of these MLB writers, I said, hey, who would be your MVP? And the MLB writers all said Aaron Judge. Cal has historic numbers for a catcher, for sure. But Aaron Judge also had big numbers. So again, MVP for me is probably Aaron Judge, and Kalshi apparently agrees. I'm waiting for Tom Vecchio, who's going to join the show any minute, and we'll talk some NHL. We'll talk Thursday Night Football. I've really got to get back in. I feel like I haven't missed much. In sports this week. And now you guys are fighting over MVP in the chat. Oh boy. Okay, I'm glad I created a fight in the chat. That's pretty good. I guess we could write on Twitter, having the debate right now in the chat, who wins American League MVP? Is it Cal Raleigh or is it Aaron Judge. I'm going to write it right now. Chat's fighting over Cal Raleigh versus Aaron Judge MVP. Who you got? I want to post a poll, but you can't post a poll with the retweet. I'd love to post. Can I post a poll in the chat? Let me see. Notes? No. Style? I don't think I could post a poll in the chat. I thought you could do that. Post a comment? No, it won't let me post a poll in the chat. Vladdy. Okay, Mark. I thought we had our fun. I thought we were done. Cal Raleigh had to win it. Any other choice is absurd. It's not absurd, though. You can't say that it's absurd. You cannot say that because they both equally have great stats. Oh, I told him 5:15. That's my bad. Okay. 6:15 is that Tom today. 6:15. Oh, cool. Kelly left me my charger. I thought she stole it. Let's see. So, okay. His batting average is 100 points lower. Look at me, you can see Raleigh's most valuable to his team. With Raleigh, Seattle doesn't make the playoffs. Come on. Okay. Don't get me wrong. That's for sure. Shohei Ohtani was on the Los Angeles Angels, and he never took the team to the playoffs. So you can't say that one player is the reason that a team is in the playoffs. You can say that he is a big part of it, but Seattle was good enough. Now, granted, he did have some big hits. I understand that. But when I'm looking at statistically what an MVP is, an MVP, here's the thing. You guys answer this in the chat. If Aaron Judge didn't already win MVP, would you feel the same way? Or are you just of MVP, like Aaron Judge fatigue? Because equally, they had great numbers. And I understand that Cal Raleigh was a catcher, and that's a really hard thing to do. But statistically, Aaron Judge has the numbers. And you can't, God, again, I know Tom's here. So I'm going to bring Tom on a little bit early because he probably has an argument on one of these sides. And you guys, I don't know. Okay, let's see. Tom Vecchio joining the show. MVP
Hello.
American League. Aaron Judge, Cal Raleigh.
Yeah, it's going to be Judge. I've had this argument for a while, and I've said the same thing. Like, just because Cal Raleigh is great in one stat or two stats, which would be home runs and RBIs, you can't discount everything else that Judge has done. When, we were talking at points earlier in the season, or I should not really throughout the season, when Judge's batting average is not 100 points higher, but like 70 plus points higher than Cal Raleigh. His WRC plus is higher. His WOBA is higher. Like his WAR is higher. It's all those things. So yeah, Cal Raleigh doing fantastic things positionally is interesting, but that's just one thing or two things with home runs, RBIs, and position. I was trying to think of like an adjacent argument that you could make would be, if a tight end leads the league in receiving yards, like, does that automatically make him MVP? Like, tight ends don't do that. Now, could we make the argument that what he is doing is absolutely incredible, but, a quarterback doing things, it's always going to default to another thing. And that it's the same thing that we see across different sports.
Oh my God. Now they're saying Aaron Judge was a DH. Aaron Judge played a lot of center field, a lot of right field guys.
Just to be clear, I don't have a position on either of these players. I don't have a bet on anything.
I'll be happy for either player. I literally don't care, but I'm just saying I feel like my thought is it's going to Aaron Judge.
I would say that it's almost certainly going to Aaron Judge. And again, we've had some voters come out and already said, I think it was Joel Sherman came out and already said that, we can't be discounting what Judge has done. And it's true. Like, just because Cal Raleigh has, great stats for one season in two areas, we're going to say the MVP of the league, what did he bat, 240, 245 when Judge was threatening 330. So I see it going to him. I thought all the award races this year were like pretty straightforward. Like we knew School was going to win it. We knew Schemes was going to win it. It was going to be Ohtani. And, I really think it's just going to be Judge. I think it's that simple.
Yeah, we'll see if any of the voters have any Judge fatigue, but all the voters I've spoken to say that they feel like it's going to go to Aaron Judge. But let's get to Thursday Night Football. We haven't talked Thursday Night Football yet. Thursday Night Football tonight, it is an ugly, ugly game. Patriots and the Jets. Of course, that's the game I got to bring Tom on for this week because I only really did 2 shows. But Tom, by the way, Mark said you did a fantastic job last week. So shout out to Tom for filling in for me last week while I was enjoying vacation. We've got the Pats laying 12.5 total, drop from 44.5 to 43.5. Before we get to your props, how do you handicap games differently when we're in prime time, double-digit spreads?
I wouldn't say prime time has much to do with it. I think that's maybe more a little of a superstition that games are going to be ugly. But the double-digit spread is more important. Also, the fact that it's a divisional matchup is super important. Again, I've always talked about teams and how they should be operating rationally, and I think that's what we should be getting like nails in the coffin of for the Pats going up against the Jets. Like just do things as safely as possible compared to the Jets in order to come away with the win on a short week at home when you're 10-point favorites. Now, it can lead to a lot of unders when we're talking about Drake May and some of the other offensive options in the patch, just because they may not be in a spot where they need to push the ball downfield. And a lot of this comes down to game script. And you can look at, offensive splits when, teams are within 7 points, when they're up by 10 points, when, we're in garbage time, all these sorts of things. The issue for the Jets is that they are so inept on offense, specifically when it comes to a passing situation, that although they should be playing from behind, thus put into a passing game script, there's really no reliable options that we can go to on a week in and week out basis, especially with Garrett Wilson being out. So the 10 points are more important, or the 10-point spread of higher than that is more important than it being a primetime game.
Do you have any anytime touchdown scores that you like for tonight?
I'm going with Mac Hollins for the TD jackpot, which we hit the other week. For the Denver game, it was Pat Bryant, if I remember correctly. So on Denver, so FanDuel promo, Mac Hollins, a lot of targets last week, hasn't scored in a while. We don't want to be going to Henderson. We don't want to be going to Breece Hall. We don't want to be going to Drake May. Hunter Henry's number is bad. It like 145. I saw it earlier. That's a crazy line for Hunter Henry. It should be like plus 185.
And it moved in his favor. It was like plus 155 earlier today.
Terrible.
Yeah. No, I put it in a Prize Picks lineup because that's a Prize Picks lineup, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But I don't really like anytime touchdown props. It just helped my Prize Picks lineup out today, and I did like it because the Jets do struggle against tight ends, especially inside the red zone. But let's get to some of your props for tonight that you actually like. We'll go to the NHL in a little bit, by the way, for people like Mark, who I think, Mark, you like hockey. But starting with Mason Taylor, over 31.5 receiving yards, how come he's going to go over?
Last week, the sample size that we got from the Jets, we literally can't look at. The volume of pass attempts were so low for Fields, and we can't be taking anything from that game. I want to look at sample size of when, they passed at a normal rate and they had, a decent amount of yards. We also want to be factoring that Garrett Wilson isn't playing anymore. We want to be factoring in that New England, he struggles against opposing tight ends. They've allowed the 6th most receiving yards, 654, to opposing tight ends, putting Taylor in a good spot. There's really no one that should be reasonably challenging Taylor for traditional route running target share. Now, there are other receivers in there. Breece Hall can be involved, certainly, but going over 31.5 is a simple spot for Taylor. Also, the quick checkdowns for Justin Fields will be there. Also, I'm not going to be surprised if Fields doesn't end the game and we see Tyrod Taylor as the backup, just because Fields is so bad at throwing. They have to do something else in the offense that Taylor could certainly come in. And going to a tight end would be very easy for that.
Yeah, and again, when you're going without Garrett Wilson, somebody's got to catch a football. So Mason Taylor could be your option. Trevion Henderson, under his receiving yards, the thing that's hard for me about the Pats, this has happened with Bill Belichick, and it's happening again in this Pats organization, where you've got essentially 2 backs that I know it's mostly been Trevion Henderson now, but I hate how randomly the Pats start splitting the backfield up, and maybe you'll get someone else catching balls out of the backfield. It just makes it really hard to handicap any kind of 2-headed monster. So how do you differentiate between the backs and the Patriots?
So everything has changed for the Pats since Ramondre Stevenson has been hurt and Henderson has stepped into the starting role. So, seeing, what was 8 yards last week, 3 yards last week. I forget what Henderson had last week. But the week before, he had like 32 yards. And really, that's the sample size we want to be looking at. And a lot of people are going to look at what Henderson did earlier in the season in September and October. And he's like, oh, he's got 20 yards here, 14 here, 19 here. Like, oh, he's like consistently getting there. Ultimately, that sample size is completely irrelevant because what the role that Henderson is playing now, that is what's most important. What he did when Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson were both lined up is completely different. So we can't be saying like, oh, he averaged 20 yards per game in terms of receiving yards when that sample size, because of the injury situation for the Pats, is completely different. So I want to be looking at the sample size of what we had over the past 2 games. And sure, he went over to 30 in one of these recent games, but ultimately I don't think they'll be needing to use him in the pass game because the Pats are going to be out ahead by 10 plus points. So they won't be utilizing him as a pass down receiver just because, hey, why pass the ball when we can run it when we're up by double-digit points? And the passes will go to the variety of wide receivers that the Pats have along with 2 tight ends. So I legitimately think from a game script and game flow perspective, Henderson won't be utilized in the pass game just because they don't need to.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense, especially when you're thinking about the game script of this being a double-digit spread. Gosh, I just hope that, we don't have a lot of these props go to die because of any kind of blowout.
And, Uncle Ted is saying you hate running backs on short weeks. These are the times that we see backup running backs be involved and they just split carries just because it is a short week. And seeing Terrell Jennings, who is now their backup, be involved more than we anticipated should not be shocking when it's all said and done.
Right, especially because we know the Patriots like to use 2-headed monsters out of the backfield and throw all of us off when it comes to our props. But I do like the play of TreVeyon Henderson under 17.5 receiving yards. Someone brought up Isaiah Davis as well, and I did see somebody mention him earlier. I think it was, not to remember if that was part of propaganda or not, but any thoughts on Isaiah Davis?
I wouldn't mind. The more I think about maybe Isaiah Davis is like a nice long shot TD play, just because if Breece Hall is somewhat ineffective and there's obviously been issues with Breece Hall wanting to be traded, like a part of me thinks at some point we're gonna get to Breece Hall where like I would use the phrase like he just quits on the team. Like he wanted to be traded. He made some comments and they had an offer on the table from Kansas City and the Jets said no. So a part of me thinks that Breece Hall is going to quit on the Jets at some point. I know it's a horrible way to put it, but Davis would be that guy to step into the role. That's the only way you would be playing is like you legitimately think Breece Hall just doesn't want to play anymore.
How about Stephon Diggs 50 plus?
I think it's okay. Let me just double check his. So it's 56. Yeah, you're altering it down a little bit. Use it with something. I think that's okay. Part of me thinks that Diggs will continue this touchdown streak that he's on, go for 60 plus, but it could be on very limited targets because, again, they're not going to be in heavy pass situations. I was considering under on Drake May pass attempts, but the number was tough. Like, I just don't know that he'll have to pass the ball 30 times. Thus, players won't be catching as much.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's just waiting. They want to be in on the Stephon Diggs game, and everyone's like, oh, it's prime time. It's got to be Diggs, right?
I mean, we saw it on Sunday night when they were at Buffalo and beat Buffalo there, but that's a different circumstance, a little bit of revenge. It's also not a short week. Also, a part of my issue with the Pats is that, you look at Diggs, obviously the emergence of Mac Hollins, Pop Douglas, Kyle Williams is starting to break out if that continues from last week. It's like the Pats have like a lot of good options. They have no one like really great option. And that makes it difficult from a prop perspective. It's like a good real life football problem to have. But it's like, hey, Steph Diggs and Hunter Henry had big games today and Henderson, and then no one else did anything. That wouldn't shock me. If Steph Diggs had 1 catch or 2 catches for 20 yards and Hunter Henry and Henderson and Hollins all had great games, that also wouldn't shock me just because they have a bunch of good options.
How about this coming weekend? I know Sunday, sometimes it's a little early. Has anything stood out to you as we look at the slate?
Not really. I wouldn't be opposed to taking Jameis over passing attempts for the Giants just because they're going to have to throw the ball. I see the
Jameis interception.
Jameis totally on the board. They're going to have to throw the ball a ton. Packers will be out in front. I'm totally on board with the Packers in a bounce back spot. A lot of the games are toss-ups, which should make things more interesting from a prop perspective when we look at the divisional matchups. Brock Purdy coming back versus the Cardinals, Seahawks, Rams. If those games are close, a lot of players should be in line. I haven't nailed down anything that I love yet, but of course, I'll tweet them out and they'll be all over if I do have anything that I truly love.
Make sure to check him out, Tom_Vecchio1. We've got NHL action for tonight. You know me. Yeah. I don't know much about the hockey world, so just go through this card and what you like.
Yeah, let's go to Macklin Celebrini for the Sharks. He's off to a fantastic start, second-year player for them. He's sitting at 26 points through 17 games. He's third or fourth, whatever it is, in the league overall for points. And we're getting him for 2+ points at plus 230, which is a fantastic number considering how hot he's been. They're going up against the Flames, who have been absolutely dreadful this season. The Flames can't score. We're not getting any production out of their offense. Their penalty kills league average when it's all said and done, just a complete mess across the board. Celebrini, first forward line, first power play. We'll see plenty of chances to get 2+ points. And then Kings Maple Leafs, it's a 5.5 number, which I'm so interested in because the Leafs are great on offense. They are the worst defensive team in the league. They've allowed the most goals in the league, and the Kings can actually score. So anytime we get a 5.5 line for the Leafs, that is honestly a near auto bet for me just because of how bad they are. They can consistently be winning or losing games 5-3, 4-3, whatever it might be. So two, I'd say, straightforward spots when it comes to the NHL tonight. I saw Joe had a comment about Brandon Hagel not getting through last night. Absolutely kills me. He did get hurt last night. So if you played it on DK, it came through with the bet protection or whatever they're calling it. So that's like essentially a void, which annoys me more than ever. The fact that that game had 10 goals and he got hurt early and like all these players had a bunch of points and he wasn't there.
How about Mark said Caulfield, Suzuki, Hudson 1 point parlay?
Caulfield, Suzuki, that's not bad. That's not bad. I was on the Habs the other night when they lost to the Kings. So the Habs are great at home. They're scoring a ton of goals. I'm a huge Cole Caulfield supporter. I think that is very, very viable. And if I remember correctly, they're all on the first power play together. So you could be cashing that on one goal theoretically.
And then Sports Guru says, take Columbus tonight. Thoughts on the Blue Jackets?
I would say what we saw, and I would say, so the way I ran about this would say what we saw from the Oilers last night was probably not a sign of things to come in terms of their defense had been atrocious leading up to last night versus the Flyers. Flyers aren't a great offensive team. Oilers come away with a 2-1 victory. Columbus likes to score. Especially when they're at home. They like to get out and run. The Oilers are on a second night of a back-to-back. Totally on board with them scoring. I think go to Kirill Marchenko for shots. He's always a good option. Him, I don't mind Denton Matejchuk or obviously Zach Werenski. All these guys pile the shots, and they should be doing so after their long road trip back at home.
More J-Main 34. Leafs auto over until further notice?
It's looking like that, especially when you get a 5.5. That's what the main stipulation is. It's not just an over 6.5 always. But when we get a 5.5 for the Leafs, who allow the most goals in the league, but also still have a good offense. Again, they're going to be winning and losing games. If you just look at their recent stretch of games, you win games 6-3, you lose games 6-3. I know there was a 3-4 loss in a row now. They lost a couple to Boston. They're giving up 5 goals. So if they can give up 5 goals or 4 goals, they're very capable of scoring 2 or 3 on their own just because they still have great goal scorers. So if you give me a 5.5 on the Leafs, I'm basically betting it every single time.
M. Rojas, how about Troy Terry for an assist versus Detroit? Well, I mean, do you have any NBA thoughts?
That is Troy Terry on the Anaheim Ducks. Oh. The Ducks are...
Oh, my God. It's so bad. Never mind. I'm not even going to say what I was thinking. Sorry.
The Ducks are very impressive this year. They're exceeding my expectations. The scoring potential that they have up and down their lineup is very good. Cutter Gauthier has been awesome. He is piling up the shots. You can always look there. I see really no wrong way to go about approaching the Ducks. If you're getting plus money on a Troy Terry assist prop, I think that's totally fine.
My brain is so not working right now. Josh Gold said Matthews is out for a week, but he hasn't scored a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Matthews has been underperforming a large majority of the season. I like to think that the Leafs are still a playoff-bound team, but that is getting tougher and tougher by the day with the losses continuing to pile up, especially with other teams in the Atlantic being so good. This is a big stretch for the Leafs from now until the end of the calendar year. If they can't turn things around, it is going to be very dark for them.
Well, chat, you got your questions answered, except Mark keeps saying Leafs stink, Leafs stink.
Listen,
Leafs
I
stink.
would like, again, I want to see Matthews do well just so he goes into the Olympics with momentum. That's what I'm mostly worried about, him performing well at the Olympics, but the Leafs are terrible.
How about a gift in the Ducks or Ottawa game?
I don't have any plays in those games specifically. I was looking at the Sens at home just because, right now, like Boston's been running hot, right? And I'm always a believer, especially in high variance sports like hockey and baseball, like teams generally don't go on long winning and losing streaks in these types of sports. So, betting against the Bruins is tough because they've been so hot, but I think the Habs not the Habs. I think the Sens are the right side tonight.
Tom Vecchio, make sure to check him out over at Tom_Vecchio1, and he's going to make sure to give us his favorite plays for this upcoming Sunday slate in the NFL as well. So make sure to check that out. Tom, what else you got going on? What should people know where to find you?
Doing a quick pregame show tonight, as always. Tomorrow morning, I'll be on another show, 7:45 as usual. Throughout the weekend, normal stuff. Plenty to do on Sunday.
Tom, thank you so much as always. Good luck with those bets tonight.
Same to you.
Coach is going to come on in about 10-15 minutes, so we're going to just do some propaganda. Wait, I have to find it. Okay, propaganda. I don't know why this has not been working well, but at least it's somewhat kind of worked. These are the most bet on props of the day, according to BetMGM for tonight's Thursday night football game. Breece Hall, under 16.5 rush attempts. Drake May, over 5.5 rush attempts. This one pissed me off. Drake May, over 23.5 rushing yards. Travion Henderson, over 78.5 rushing yards. And Stephon Diggs, over 4.5 receptions are your most bet on props at BetMGM tonight. It annoys me because I like some of these in different capacities. So I'm really hoping that the public is wrong on these individual markets, some of them, but we could play it different ways. Breece Hall under his rush attempts. I don't like that because of the magnitude of, if the playbook says, okay, we're going to run with Breece Hall because we don't trust our quarterback, then you're going to lose on the rush attempts. But the problem is, at least if you go under rushing yards, hint, hint, the rushing yards prop, at least you could think, okay, the Patriots are going to limit how much he actually runs the football. I don't like to take under rush attempts because I don't like thinking the intent is there. He's 25.5 now, but still took it. What's 25.5? So I don't like knowing that are you thinking Drake May? Okay. So I don't like knowing that Breece Hall, like the attempts could be there because they don't trust anything else in their offense. So I would say I'd rather go rushing yards than rush attempts. Drake May over rush attempts and rushing yards. I like this rushing yards prop for Drake May more than rush attempts. He's gone over the rushing yards more than he's gone over the attempts when he's been at home. And again, in Prop Queen Edges, I'll dive a little bit more into this. But this number was 21.5 yesterday. And now it's up to 24.5, 25.5. So this morning it was 23.5. This number is getting steamed to the over. He ran for 46 against the Jets last year, averaging 30 rushing yards per his last 10 home games. But again, he's gone over rushing yards at home more than he's gone over rush attempts. So, and again, in a in a blowout style game, we're going to look for the yardage and hope that he has a few big runs, as opposed to hoping that the game script is for Drake May to run the football a bunch of times. Why are we putting our quarterback, who's currently the favorite to win MVP, at risk to run the football 6 times? Hey, maybe he does, but I would rather fade the public on the rush attempts and just hope that he's got a few big rushes in him to go over his rushing yards. And again, the Jets, 5th most rushing yards per game allowed to quarterbacks this year. Travion Henderson, over 78.5 rushing yards. Sure, just because there's a chance that the Jets get such a huge lead that they're just going to try to run the football. When I was looking, let me see. Running backs, Jets, rushing yards allowed. The Jets, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. They're 10th in rushing yards allowed to running backs. Let's pull up some props.cash right now. So let's share the screen for props.cash. This way we could talk about some of these guys. So, what was I talking about? Rushing yards for TreVeyon Henderson. So TreVeyon, look at these numbers. TreVeyon Henderson, last 10 home games, has gone under 70, what did I say, 77, 78, 78 and a half rushing yards, 77. He's gone under in all of his home games so far this year. You want to look at his, and I know that now you can't really say all because he was splitting the backfield with Ramondre Stevenson. Divisional games, he didn't really get bulk of the carries yet. So it's a very low sample size. And I know it's the Jets. So let's take a look then at how many times running backs have gone over. Look at that. Season. So for as bad as the Jets season has been, and as bad as they even are against the run, this season only 35% of running backs have gone over their rushing yard prop against the Jets. So that's a little alarming because the Jets are bad. But why have only 35% of running backs gone over their prop against the Jets when they're always being blown out? So that would be my concern. Sorry. It was Steph Curry and Under Armour have parted ways was the breaking news that I just got to my phone. And then the last one was Stephon Diggs, over 4.5 receptions. So we could look at Stephon Diggs over his receptions. Receptions. Where are we? When Stephon Diggs at home, prime time, let's say last 10. That was 2023. But again, not much of a sample size with New England. But over receptions for teams against the Jets, wide receivers this season. It's harder to get a gist of this because there's a lot of wide receivers out there. So it's kind of hard. But Jerry Jeudy had 6 in the Cleveland game. You kind of have to look at number ones. Jamar Chase, 12 receptions against them. Xavier Leggett had 9 receptions. So just looking at some of these top receivers on each team, they do tend to go over their receptions prop when facing this team. But when I play any kind of receptions or when I play any wide receiver, especially in prime time or even on Sundays, I like going for longest reception. I just feel like longest reception props are a lot more fun to play because there's always going to be the guys that are your main receivers that are your deep threats. So if you see somebody, like let's see on the Pats, because again, let's go wide receivers. Let's see how the Jets are against wide receivers. The Jets, they're not even that bad. They're actually not even bottom 15. Receptions allowed, the Jets. The Jets are actually top 10 in receptions allowed. So they don't even allow that many receptions to wide receivers. It's the tight end position that has struggled more against the Jets this year. The Jets this year against tight ends, let's see. Actually, not bad. It's more in the red zone that they struggle, I guess, because they are bottom 5 in touchdowns allowed to tight ends this year. But they're really not that bad in receptions and yards. So I understand what everybody's saying about running backs and TreVeyon Henderson. So I guess him and Drake May have the best matchup with the Jets this week. I'm staying away from wide receiver props. So no wide receiver props for me. But you can see those numbers with Diggs. Very inconsistent. So yes, no Sauce Gardner is huge. That is huge. So I would say longest reception props because there's going to be blown coverage. It's the Jets. There's going to be blown coverage. And just so you guys know, anytime touchdown props, these are the most bet on anytime touchdown props. Demario Douglas, Hunter Henry, Stephon Diggs, Mac Hollins, and New England's D special teams. So I am kind of like, I have my prize picks lineup ready to go, but now I'm going to be annoyed if the anytime touchdown score of Drake May that I gave out for the Ringer, because the Ringer asked us to give Thursday Night Football anytime touchdown scores every week. And I said Drake May because the Jets have allowed the 5th most touchdowns to quarterbacks, not passing. Like, obviously, quarterbacks have to run in a touchdown. So Fifth most to quarterbacks, and then the third most to tight ends, touchdowns allowed by the Jets, which is why you're seeing a lot of Hunter Henry. But I do agree that Hunter Henry at plus 165 is a crappy number because who wants to play that? But it's plus 195 for Drake May. Definitely sauce related. Yes, no Sauce Gardner is pretty big. We've got Coach coming on in about 5 minutes. I will show you some more just from props.cash for tonight. These are the prop for anyone who does like anytime touchdown scores. Oh, we can look at the difference here too. Demario Douglas. I'll take a look at anytime. Longest reception props real quick. So let's say New England stats. New England's. Unfortunately with let's see, Diggs. So Diggs and Mac Hollins, Demario Douglas. So let's see who does the best in prime time. Starting with Demario Douglas, because that's what props.cash likes. And we could go with Butte without him. 2025. In the one game without him, he went over with a 26-yard catch. Last 10 games without him at home, pretty good. Over 17.5 yards for longest reception. We just looked at Diggs. His numbers weren't that great. At home, hasn't been that great. Except that one recent one on October 27, 2024. And then who was the other one? The other one was Mac Hollins. Mac Hollins, not as great. So if there was a longest reception prop, I feel like Demario Douglas. So even though right now, as propaganda, Demario Douglas was the most likely to get a touchdown according to the public, I actually like his longest reception prop. Underrated receiver. People probably aren't looking at his longest reception prop tonight, so I'm going to go Demario Douglas. Demarius Douglas over his longest reception tonight of 17.5 would be the way I would play that. But if we want to go looking at some anytime touchdown props, anytime touchdown projection. So Trayvon Henderson, obviously, Stephon Diggs, Hunter Henry, Breece Hall, and Drake May are who props.cash deem as the most likely top 5 to score a touchdown tonight. And of course, the Demarius Douglas number is what stands out to people, but I would rather go longest reception on him. Oh, God. You guys are crazy. Would I play the Jets team total under? That number's too low. I feel like I have this rule of 14.5. That's way too low. Like 16.5 is where I get a little iffy. What I will tell you, speaking of team totals, before Coach comes on, being on vacation with Kelly in Vegas, you guys would think that we're just like two girls that hang out at the beach. We wake up and we were like talking football this morning. And we're talking because we had like all these different shows that we had to do today. So we were talking all these different stats and going back and forth with things that we like and didn't like about the weekend. And she said, I actually found from the gold sheet, got a really cool stat about Atlanta. And I was like, oh, like what? Because she was like, I kind of like the Panthers this week. And I know that that's kind of against you won the first matchup, should lose the second matchup, especially because the Panthers absolutely destroyed them like 30-0. So there have been 3 teams this year that they went international, come back from an international game and didn't take the bye. Cleveland, Denver, and I'm leaving one out. Cleveland, Denver, and the Jets. So the Browns, the Jets, and the Broncos did not use a bye after an international game. They opted out of it. The Browns scored 9 points, and the game stayed under the total by a touchdown. The Jets scored 6, and the game stayed under by 21 points. And the Broncos were held scoreless for those first 3 quarters against the Giants until they came back and beat the Giants in the fourth quarter. So either you go with an Atlanta Falcons team total under in the first half, Atlanta Falcons team total under. I don't know if I would take the Panthers, but that should have low scoring implications in that game because of it. The other thing about this with Pat Freiermuth, which I saw you posting about Uncle Ted, the Bengals have sucked against tight ends this year. But guess what? We cashed the over on Freiermuth in the last game between these two. And when I have two teams facing off divisionally for the second time in the span of like a month, I don't like betting the same result to happen twice. So it was very obvious the first time around, right? If Pat Freiermuth did not go over his receiving yard prop that first game, then I would say slam dunk, absolutely, he's going over this time. Mike Tomlin is not playing the same playbook the second time around against his division rivals, the Cincinnati Bengals. I am staying far away from Pat Freiermuth this week. Freiermuth is always, it's like one, maybe it's so obvious you're overthinking it. Okay, let's go head to head, Uncle Ted. I'm going to tell you Pat Freiermuth does not go over his prop. What number are you seeing? What number are you seeing? Because I'm telling you, we hit that over. I loved having a tight end against the Bengals because they suck against tight ends. But I am not confident in Pat Freiermuth going over a second time against the Bengals when he already did it the first time a few weeks ago. Does it factor in jobs on the line for Atlanta coaching staff? I mean, at this point, you kind of always feel like your job's on the line in the NFL. I can't factor that in. I'm just telling you what the trends have said, that we have now had 11 quarters of football that we could show you in this year for teams that opt out to not have the bye after the international game. We have proven now through 11 quarters that teams are struggling to score the week after international and not taking a bye. And it's not like Atlanta is the LA Rams or the Kansas City Chiefs. It's Atlanta, and they've already had inefficiencies with their quarterback, Michael Penix. So Atlanta not scoring is something that I would – listen, it's a divisional game. It's definitely a rivalry because you've got these two teams that Atlanta just got blown out by them the last time they played. I don't trust their offense. So I'm looking at Atlanta. That's why I said I'm not worrying about the spread, but I would go Atlanta team total under in that spot. Some other spots that stood out to me, and then I'll get to coach. Hopefully he's logging in soon, and then I'll get to props. I'm trying to see if there was any other trends that I thought were interesting. I know that the line's moving against my Ravens, which makes me very sad. It went from 8.5 to 7.5. The Browns have actually played a lot better at home this year. They're 2-2 at home, but they lost to Cincy by 1 and lost to Minnesota by 4. Then they're 0-5 on the road. Cleveland's 3 of the last 4 on the road, their games. So now that they're back at home, they might put up a fight against the Ravens, but John Harbaugh, the Ravens head coach, has had very good numbers this year when going up against rookie quarterbacks like Dylan Gabriel. Let's see, any other trends? Cardinals, Niners, Arizona 1-3 at home, but they're not losing by much. They've covered 3 of their 4 home games. Arizona was on the road back-to-back weeks after covering 3 straight. So the Cards, that number was very fishy. That's a fishy line. Why is that number 2.5, 3? That number is very weird. So I would be very cautious of the 49ers this week because after the Cardinals got blown out, you're going to tell me that they are only going to be getting 2.5, 3 against the 49ers? Fishy, fishy. Very fishy. I was talking to Kelly about the Bills-Bucks game. She's high on the Bucks this week. The Bills are 0-3 against the spread at home as favorites this season. 5.5 is what they're getting you. So I would say I understand her thoughts and sentiments on it. The Denver Broncos are a side I really like. I would take 3.5 with the Denver Broncos. I know that people are going to say, oh, you can't fade the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes off a bye, blah, 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 and Andy Reid off a bye. Listen, Denver looked bad last week, but they played a third game in 11 days, and they were playing Vegas. It was always about this Chiefs game. They were looking ahead. Come on. This is their biggest game. Kelly's a diehard Denver fan, and this is like their biggest game of the year. So Denver's 8-2 at home in divisional games. Kansas City, not great at running the football. And Denver is a top 10 run D. So you're going to make the Chiefs one-dimensional. Make Patrick Mahomes throw the football. Denver at home, chance to be closer to winning that division. That definitely stands out to me about this week. I don't know where Coach is, but I've got to get to dinner. So if he's not going to log on soon, where are you? He's got to log in soon because I've got to go. We've got one more day here tomorrow in Aruba. Another trend, Seahawks at Rams. The Rams have covered in 8 of the last 9 meetings. Seahawks have won and covered in their last 4 games. The Rams have won and covered last 4 games. Seattle's won and covered all 4 of its road games this year. But if you take away week 18, where no Matthew Stafford in that game, the previous 4 meetings between these two went under. So I think that's also something to make note of. Coach is like not answering me. He said he'd be here at 5:45. It is 5:50. And I don't know what he wants, but I am Yulian Seahawks, Joseph Rodriguez. I mean, I guess I'll get to props, but I know what's going to happen is I'm going to get to the prop queen edges, and then coach is going to log in. I've got to get the show done by 6 p.m. Damn. Now he's not answering. Okay. So I guess I will just talk some prop queen edges of the day because I already kind of talked about them anyway. Drake May over his rushing yards. It was 21.5. Now it's 24.5. Again, he ran for 46 last year against the Jets. He's averaging 30 rushing yards per game in the last 10 home games. So getting a Jets defense that has been struggling against quarterbacks on the ground. Wait, prop queen edges of the day. So struggling with a quarterback who on the ground game, then I would be looking at Drake May over his rushing yards. Only Aaron Rodgers went under his rushing yard prop this year against the Jets. Then you've got Breece Hall under his 60.5 rushing yards. It fluctuated a lot, 60.5, 55.5, up to 58.5, 61.5. It's back to like 58.5. He's gone under this in 12 of his last 20 road games, 3 of his last 5 primetime games against top 10 run Ds. So Breece Hall against the top 10 run D last year went under in all 3 games. Denver, Minnesota, Pittsburgh all went under. This year, he did go over twice, 59 and 83 against Denver and Cleveland. Both those games were at home. This is his first time this year, Breece Hall, on the road against the top 10 run D. New England, least rushing yards per game allowed to running backs at about 57. 78% of running backs have gone under their prop against New England, so we are going under on the rushing yards prop for Breece Hall. I said Drake May and Hunter Henry anytime touchdown. That's because Drake May getting a Jets D that has allowed the 8th most the 8th most touchdowns to quarterbacks. Hunter Henry, they have allowed the 3rd most touchdowns to tight ends this year, those New York Jets. So here's my prize picks lineup. And if you want to join prize picks, there's, here, I could show you guys the, let's see, prize picks. Where's the ad for prize picks? So prize picks you could get if you use promo code PropQueen, play $5 and get $50 instantly in lineup. So if you check this one out, my $250 power play, 3 picks, makes you just over $1,300 for tonight, which I very much need. I did an alt total for Drake May's rushing yards, got it back to 19.5 because it was around 21.5 yesterday. Breece Hall under 61.5 and Hunter Henry to score a touchdown because, again, the Jets stink against tight ends in the end zone. I do have a few Sunday NFL props to look at while Coach gets set up, and then we'll get to Coach real quick. Trevor Lawrence under his completions this weekend coming up against the Chargers. So against teams that are top 10 against the pass, Trevor Lawrence averages 16 completions per game. 70% of quarterbacks have gone under their completions and passing yard prop against the Chargers. James Cook over 12.5 receiving yards. He's averaging 16 receiving yards a game when going up against the team bottom 10 in receiving yards allowed to running backs. Tampa Bay, most receiving yards per game allowed to running backs at just over 52. And lastly, great trend I found on props.cash. Jalen Hurts, over 6.5 rush attempts. He went over in 14 of his last 15 home primetime games. 10 straight home primetime games. Jalen Hurts has had 7 or more rush attempts. He's averaging 10 to 11 per game at home in primetime. 67% of quarterbacks went over their rush attempt prop against Detroit. Detroit allows the 5th most rush attempts per game to quarterbacks. Thanks to props.cash for that. He's here. I'm giving him about 10 minutes max to get through everything, including what I'm sure is about to be a rant about his New York Football Jets, who are going up against the Patriots tonight. It is Coach James Young. Hi,
oh
Coach.
My God, my computer's all messed up, man. I mean, it's a struggle.
Are you on vacation or am I on vacation? Your screen is a mess.
It's a mess. This is the
Nope,
problem.
you got to shift it over. Come on. Nope. There we go. Okay, that's a little better.
It's a little bit better. Sorry, the updates to the computer, and of course, I'm here. All right, so first things first, Jets. Jets are going to shock people tonight.
Oh,
They're
get out
gonna
of
be
here.
in the game. They're going to be in the game. So I only got about 7 minutes, and I got to go pick up the kids. I'm going to be fast. Thank God. Ariel, don't touch the hotel mini bar. Stay away from, listen, if there's one thing you've learned today, folks, it is this. Do not go on a vacation in which you got to sit in for the timeshare. They will lock the doors. They will take your phones. They'll do everything they can. Just pretend that you get sick and just take something so you throw up and they let you out of there. Speaking of throwing up, the Knicks were absolutely terrible last night, but that's not why I'm on. Everybody, y'all got your pens? I'm talking.
Wait, hold on. Okay, go.
BI over 19.5 points. Over 6 of his last 7 games, 3 straight over Cleveland, scoring the ball at will. Cleveland, 26 in points per game allowed to small forwards. Where did I get this from? Props.cash. If you don't have props.cash, you should be doing it. By the way, that guy was supposed to call me today. He didn't call me, so I'm going to have to bust his chops. Next, Isaiah Jackson, over 5.5 rebounds, 7 straight games. Phoenix keeps their center inside, right? They're 21st and rebounds allowed to centers per game. I am all over this. 71% hit rate for centers versus Phoenix. Go Isaiah Jackson over 5.5 rebounds. And then to the plays, because I got plays too. Suns team total over 117.5 versus Indiana. Over the last 2 games. Did y'all see the fucking shit that Indiana gave up last game? They gave up 152 points last game. Okay? They're bottom 10 in defensive rating, opponents' rebounds per game, turnovers forced, points per game allowed, take over 117.5. And then the Hawks are on the money line. Tricky spot. Second game of a back-to-back. Utah, 3rd game in 4 nights. Utah is 2-6 straight up the last 8 games. Atlanta's starting to find their way without trade day. Give me the Hawks on the money line.
Next.
All right, now listen. This is probably my best play today. I can't even bet it because I'm in Jersey. The Monmouth Hawks team total under 63.5 tonight versus Seton Hall. Monmouth has only played 2 games. 1 game was against Division II Caldwell, scored 93 points. Other game was versus LaSalle, scored 60. King Rice's team's going to struggle a little bit. Seton Hall, all 3 games they've played, they've held teams under 64 points. These 2 coaches, King Rice, Sheen Holloway, know each other really well from their Monmouth St. Peter's days. Remember, Sheen Holloway, who went to Seton Hall, was the one that led the St. Peter's Peacocks to that Elite 8 1 years ago. They beat Monmouth in the championship game. These guys know each other. They're good friends. Game will be slowed down. Monmouth team total under 63.5. And then in the nightcap, really good game. Purdue, Alabama, over 174.5. Now you're like, holy shit, that's a lot of points for a college game. Well, Purdue has scored 87, 82 points the first 2 games. They have obviously Braden Smith, Fletcher Loyer on the backcourt, obviously Kaufman right in the front court. They have a ton of scoring. But I went to the Garden Saturday and watched Nate Oates' team hung 103 against Rick Pitino and St. John's. They play faster than anybody in the country, and they get you to play faster than anyone else. Take over 174.5.
And I know some people don't like to bet on their own teams. Coach, how would you play the Jets tonight?
Jets plus the points.
First half or full game?
No, it's going to be a backdoor cover. It's going to be a backdoor.
Any props? Any players we should look out for?
No, if anything, listen, if I am variable, number one, the Jets are doing something with Breece Hall. Watch Breece closely. The Jets have this dumb fucking thing of they don't give him the ball in the first half. They give it to him in the second half. So Breece has really low rushing yards at the half, and the Jets are kind of in the game. Go to Breece in the second half, okay? Plus, they may run draw plays because they're not going to let Justin Fields drop back and pass the ball. If you're looking for a passing prop or a receiving prop, look at Mason Taylor. No Garrett Wilson. He's actually had a pretty good year as a rookie. Look for Mason Taylor. That's Jason Taylor's son to go over his reception prop.
Lastly, before I let you go, Jalen Brunson, he has a grade 1 sprain I saw earlier today, and he's
he's out Friday. He's out Friday.
Yes.
Listen, the Knicks had their first hiccup, and it was interesting. Mike Brown kind of trashed his own players after the game because they spent more time bitching to the officials than playing. I'm not concerned about the injury. He'll be out. You rest him now a little bit. Maybe look at someone like Deuce McBride to maybe go over, but Deuce was fucking awful last night, but he's had a good start to the year. Look for Deuce McBride to give you a little bit more production, and then have the offense go through Cat. Cat will be the trigger. Look at Cat's assist prop tomorrow night versus the Heat.
There you go, Coach James Young. Short, sweet, to the point. It's very rare for us. We like to talk.
Hey, listen. Stay away from the rum punch tonight. Stay away from the rum punch.
That's not my problem. My problem's wine.
Well, don't they put wine sometimes in a rum punch too? I don't know.
I don't eat. Well, okay. No, the real problem is that Kelly and I signed up for a snorkeling booze cruise tomorrow at 2:00.
All right. So listen, folks. If we don't have Ariel, are you doing a show tomorrow?
No.
Oh God, I'm about to say, I'm you after a booze cruise, I'm all for that shit.
It would be hilarious.
Oh, that'd be great.
Hey, listen, Kelly and I want to do a show together at some point, and we will. And I think that that's the kind of show that people want. Well,
listen, let me tell you something. I am now saying that we want snorkel, and then we want a show tomorrow. Anybody want to agree with me? Can you please raise your hand right now in the chat? I need 3 people to do it. Do 3 people want them to do the show drunk and inebriated tomorrow? I'm all for it. I have my kids.
Yeah, until we throw in the bathing suit factor would be a real.
Whoa. We're not. I'll let everyone else can talk about that shit. I'm just going about the drunk and inebriated stuff. Is anybody with me? Jay? Yep. Okay. Yep. Mark said yes. Anybody else? Jess, J-Rod.
He's like, going once, going twice. Sold. No show tomorrow. No show tomorrow.
Well, wow.
It's my last day of my 2-week vacation. My ass is going to the beach. Then I'm going to the dock to have lunch. And then I'm going on a boat, to which I then will have to somehow make it from said boat to my surprise Kelly birthday dinner tomorrow night at one of my favorite restaurants on the island.
You better hope that she's not listening to the show. Otherwise, she's
doing another show on the deck right now.
I'm gonna say. Oh, wait a minute. J-Rod said yes. I think we're at 3.
I think we sold. We sold to the no.
So here's the thing. Okay, when you come back, we're gonna do this again. I am now want to do this. I want to do a show live with Ariel. We gotta figure this out.
We are live.
No. Live, like in person, like together, like in New York City. I will come into New York City, and you find the spot. You find the right day. I will come in and do a show with you live.
We have to set up a spot.
Yeah, that's a fucking problem.
That's hard.
We'll talk about it another time. You guys have fun. Be safe. Hey, and stay away. You going red or white tonight?
Probably red. Kelly says that white wine tastes like feet.
What kind of white wine is she drinking? Chardonnay?
She's annoying. But I drank a white wine glass at lunch today.
I love Kelly. Fuck her. She's probably drinking $3 Chuck from Trader Joe's. I'll see you later. Bye.
See you, Coach. All right, so since I already give out the Prop Queen Edges of the Day, that is the show. If you missed anything, check out the YouTube page at Prop Queen Sports. You can. What's wrong with feet? We know what you do now, Mark. Shout out to Prop Queen Sports on the YouTube page. Subscribe and like. I really appreciate it. Hoping to hit at least 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the year. I know it's not a lot to some of you, but to me it means a lot. This is the last show of the week. I will be back to normal schedule Monday. Prop Queen Pod, 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. We will be completely back next week when I am back from Aruba. I should be back, FAA permitting, on Saturday. So Sunday, last call at Wager Talk. And all next week, we will be back to normal schedule, and I will be back to the normal newsletters. I will be capping the NBA again. I will cap NFL. And we will know who the American League MVP will be. So we'll see who wins that debate on this stream. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. See you guys next week.